Can everybody hear me? Good or well or whatever? See, 0 viewers so far, but hey, that's life, I guess. I don't know how I'm going to keep this stream up. Just wait for everybody to get here. Send out some links, I guess. Gonna send out the live stream links. If just give me a moment. Oh, hello, 2 people who are watching. How are you? Let me see if they're actually talking. Today is my 5th year anniversary on YouTube. Been doing this for 5 years. Can anyone? Can you guys hear me? Oh, 3 people. Well, a hello person who just joined. I have 3 people watching me now. And let me see, what do I have set up? I do have some Edgar Allan Poe set up that I can read, if you guys want to hear that or not. Everybody's silent in the chat, so... But yeah, this is my... Wait, maybe I'm not... Wait, maybe I'm not seeing... Yeah, this is my 5th year anniversary, which is kind of crazy. Let me... Oh, hello, Victoria, Angelina, and hello, Reaper Tells. Sorry, for some reason my YouTube chat thing wasn't working, but I pulled it up on my phone, which I usually do. I should have done it this time. I don't know why I didn't, but thank you for the happy anniversary, Victoria, Angelina. So do you guys want to hear some live readings, or like, what do you guys want me to do? Well, I mean, Victoria, Angelina, we all suck at streams eventually. Hello, Electra Heart. Okay, so yes to the live readings. Let me listen to how good the sound is real quick. You had to crash my live stream. Okay, so I'm going to read The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. And that'll be fun. Let me just bring my microphone closer. And of course, I remembered about the shoe. All right, here it is. This is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and I'm not going to be looking at the chats while I read, so sorry if I don't respond to anything, but while I'm reading, you can ask me questions or just talk down there. It's fine, and I will reply as soon as I'm done. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered. tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the sunken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with a fantastic terror never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. That it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, as so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened the wide door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming, dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore!" Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what there it is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with the mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy it bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely, sorry, that makes my words up. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than till I scarcely more than muttered. Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is only stock in store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore." Drinking water. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking with this ominous bird of yore, with this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore, meant and croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er. She shall press, ah, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen ember, swung by serpent whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath sent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this kind of nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, by that the heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aegean it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare, let me read that again. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aegean it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. By that word, our sign of Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that Sorry, let me read that again. I'm sorry. Kind of messed up. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off of my door, quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on that placid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seemings of a demon's that is dreaming, and the light lamp o'er him streaming throws a shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. And that is the end. Did you guys enjoy it? Hello, Caleb Lynch. Reaper Candy Rules. How can I read this without using a fake British accent? Well, I could, but I could read it in a fake British accent, and actually I can do a British accent. Hold on. I'll just read a scene with a British accent real quick. Let me see. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, whether tempest sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. There, does that satisfy you? Does that satisfy you? Were you satisfied by that British accent I used? And 4 people watching. Dang, wow, that's a lot. For me anyway. I know more people have 30,000 people or whatever, but yeah, that's a lot for me. Thank you all for showing up, by the way. Oh, 5 viewers. I have 5 viewers now. I have 5 now. Oh, now I only have 4 or what? I have 3. Oh, poor me. That's okay. You guys are awesome. Is there any story that I should read? Any poets that you like or anything like that? Preferably ones that aren't copyrighted. Let me see this. Oh, and Alyssa, I just see that you just subscribed to me. Thank you for that. So nice. Oh, Grimm stories. The Brothers Grimm? I've actually never read one of their stories. Do you have any favorite in particular Brothers Grimm story? No, no, it's not. It's anything that's old, like anything published before 1940, isn't copyrighted. Sorry, that was my phone. I'm just trying to. Snow White. You want me to read Snow White? Okay, I'll read Snow White. Everyone, if you want me to read it, should I read? Should I read this story in a British accent or an American accent? Type one for British. Type two for American. Is it one? Okay, hold on. So is this accent good enough for you? Is this proficient? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Let me just. Oh, okay. My name's pretty simple stuff. I'm trying to get into the groove. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is this British accent proficient? Is this enjoyable? Um, this a good enough accent for you all? Okay, it's adorable. Thank you, Victoria Angelina. All right, let's begin this. It's a bit of a long story. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was the middle of winter, and the snowflakes were falling like feathers from the sky. And a queen sat at her and a queen sat at her window working, and her embroidery frame was of ebony. And as she worked, gazing at times out on the snow, she pricked her finger, and there fell from it 3 drops of blood on the snow. And when she saw how bright and red it looked, she said to herself, "Oh, that I had a child as white as snow, as red as blood, and as black as the wood of the embroidery frame." Not very long after, she had a daughter with a skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony, and she was named Snow White. And when she was born, the queen died. After a year had gone by, the king took another wife, a beautiful woman, but proud and overbearing, and she could not bear to be surpassed in beauty by anyone. She had a magic looking glass, and she used to stand before it and look in it and say, "Looking glass upon the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" And the looking glass would answer, "You are the fairest of them all." And she was contented, for she knew that the looking glass spoke the truth. Now Snow White was growing prettier and prettier, and when she was 7 years old, she was as beautiful as day, far more so than the queen herself. So one day, when the queen went to her mirror and said, "Looking glass upon the wall, who is fairest of all?" it answered, "Queen, you are full fair, 'tis true, but Snow White fairer is than you." This gave the queen a great shock, and she became yellow and green with envy. And from that hour her heart turned against Snow White, and she hated her. And envy and pride, like ill weeds, grew in her heart higher every day, until she had no peace day or night. At last she sent for a huntsman and said, "Take the child out into the woods, so that I may set eyes on her no more. You must put her to death, and bring me her heart for a token." My mouth's gonna dry. The huntsman consented and led her away, but when he drew his cutlass to pierce Snow White's innocent heart, she began to weep and to say, "Oh, dear huntsman, do not take my life. I will go away into the wild wood and never come back again." And as she was so lovely, the huntsman had pity on her and said, "Away with you, then, poor child," for he thought the wild animals would be sure to devour her. And it was as if a stone had been rolled away from his heart when he did not put her to death. Just at that moment, a young wild boar came running by, so he caught it and killed it, and taking out its heart, he brought it to the queen for a token, and she was and she and it was salted and cooked, and the wicked woman ate it up, thinking that was the end of Snow White. Hi, Maxwell Axel. Caleb Lynch. I like how the mother wanted only a white baby. That's, yeah. Mm. Now, when the poor child found herself quite alone in the wild woods, she felt a full terror, even of the very leaves on the trees, and she did not know what to do for fright. Then she began to run over the sharp stones and through the thorn bushes, and the wild beasts after her, but they did her no harm. She ran as long as her feet would carry her, and when the evening drew near, she came to a little house, and she went inside to rest. Everything there was very small, but as pretty and as clean as possible. There stood the little table ready laid, and covered with a white cloth, and 7 little plates, and 7 knives and forks, and drinking cups. But by the wall stood 7 little beds, side by side, covered with clean white quilts. Snow White, being very hungry and thirsty, ate from each plate a little portion and bread, and drank out of each little cup a drop of wine, so as not to finish up one portion alone. After that, she felt so tired that she lay down on one of the beds, but it did not seem to suit her. One was too long, another too short, but at last the seventh was quite right, and she lay down upon it and committed herself to sleep, and fell asleep. It was quite dark. The masters of the house came home. They were 7 dwarfs, whose occupation was to dig underground away among the mountains. When lighted their 7 candles, and it was quite light in the little house, they saw someone must have been in, as everything was not in the same order as which they left it. The first said, "Who's been sitting in my little chair?" The second said, "Who has been eating from my little plate?" The third said, "Who has been taking my little loaf?" The fourth said, "Who has been tasting my porridge?" The fifth said, "Who has been using my little fork?" The sixth said, "Who has been cutting with my little knife?" The seventh said, "Who has been drinking from my little cup?" Then the first one, looking round, saw a hollow in his bed, and cried, "Who has been lying in my bed?" And the others came running and cried, "Someone has been in our beds too." When the seventh looked at his bed, he saw Snow White lying there asleep. Then he told the others, who came running up, crying out in astonishment, and holding up their 7 little candles to throw a light upon Snow White. "Oh, goodness gracious!" cried they, "what a beautiful child is this!" And were so full of joy to see her that they did not wake her, but let her sleep on. And the 7th dwarf slept with his comrades an hour at a time with each until the night had passed. When it was morning and Snow White awoke and saw the 7 dwarfs, she was very frightened, but they seemed quite friendly, and asked her what her name was, and she told them. And then they asked how she came to be in their house, and she related to them how her stepmother had wished her to be put to the death, and how the huntsman had spared her life. Now she had run away the whole day long, until at last she had found their little house. Then the dwarf said, "If you will keep our house for us, and cook and wash and make the beds, and sew and knit, and keep everything tidy and clean, you may stay with us, and you shall lack nothing." Caleb Lynch, who breaks into someone's house and drinks their booze, you're supposed to bring wine, not take it. Yep, yeah, that's a no-no. Let me see. "With all my heart," said Snow White, and so she stayed, and kept the house in good order. In the morning the dwarfs went to mountain to dig for gold. In the evening they came home, and the supper had to be ready for them. All that day long the maiden was left alone, and the little dwarfs warned her, saying, "Beware of your stepmother. She will soon know you are here. Let no one into the house." The queen, having eaten Snow White's heart, as she supposed, felt quite sure that now she was the first and fairest, and so she came to a mirror and said, "Looking glass upon the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" The glass answered, "Queen, thou art of beauty and beauty rare, but Snow White living in that glen with the 7 little men is 1,000 times more fair." And she was very angry, for the glass always spoke the truth, and she knew the huntsman must have deceived her, and that Snow White must still be alive. And she thought and thought how she could manage to make an end of her, But as long as she was not the fairest in the land, envy left her no rest. At last she thought of a plan. She painted her face and dressed herself like an old peddler woman, so that no one would have known her. In this disguise, she went across the 7 mountains. So she came to the house of the 7 dwarves, and she knocked on the door and cried, "Fine, fine wares to sell, fine wares to sell." Snow White peeped out of the window and cried, "Good day, good woman. What have you to sell?" Good wares, fine wares," answered she, "laces of all colors," and she held up a piece that was woven of variegated silk. "I need not be afraid of letting in this good woman," thought Snow White. She unbarred the door and bought the pretty lace. "What a figure you are, child," said the old woman. "Come, let me lace you properly for once." And Snow White, suspecting nothing, stood up before her and let her lace her with her new lace. But the old woman laced so quickly and tightly. Wait, I think I lost. Hold on. Lost. Ah, dang it. Lost my place. Sorry. Uh, no, you don't. Lace with me. But the old woman laced so quickly and tightly that it took Snow White's breath away, and she fell down as dead. "Now you have done away with being the fairest," said the old woman as she hastened away. Not long after, towards the evening, the 7 dwarfs came home and were terrified to see their dear Snow White lying on the ground, without life or motion. They raised her up, and when they saw how tightly she was laced, they cut the lace in two. Then she began to draw breath, and little by little she returned to life. When the dwarfs heard what had happened, the old peddler, they said, "The old peddler woman was no other than the wicked queen. You must beware of letting anyone in when we are not here." And when the wicked woman got home and went to her glass and said, "Looking glass against the wall, who is the fairest of all?" And it answered as before, "Queen, thou art of beauty rare, but Snow White living in the glen with the 7 little men is 1,000 times more fair." When she heard that, she was so struck with surprise that all the blood left her heart, for she knew that Snow White must still be living. "But now," said she, "I will think of something that will be her ruin." And by witchcraft she made a poisoned comb. Then she dressed herself up to look like another different sort of old woman. So she went across the 7 mountains and came to the house of the 7 dwarfs, and knocked at the door and cried, "Good wares to sell, good wares to sell." Snow White looked out and said, "Go away, I must not let anybody in." "But you are not forbidden to look," said the old woman, taking out a poisoned comb and holding it up. It pleased the poor child, so that she was tempted to open the door. And when the bargain was made, the old woman said, "Now, for once, your hair shall be properly combed." Poor Snow White, thinking no harm, let the old woman do as she would, but no sooner was the comb put in her hair than the poison began to work, and the poor girl fell down senseless. "Now, you paragon of beauty," said the wicked woman, "this is the end of you," and went off. By good luck it was now near evening, and the 7 little dwarfs came home. When they saw Snow White lying on the ground as dead, they thought directly that it was the stepmother's doing, and looked about, found the poisoned comb, and no sooner had they drawn it out of her hair that Snow White came to herself and related all that had passed. Then they warned her once more to be on her guard, and never again to let anyone at the door. And the queen went home and stood before a looking glass and said, "Looking glass against the wall, who is the fairest of all?" And that looking glass answered as before, "Queen, thou art of beauty rare, but Snow White living in the glen with 7 little men is 1,000 times more fair." Geez, this is the second time she's died. She's got worse luck than like people I know. Queen, thou art of When she heard the looking-glass speak, thus she trembled and shook with anger. "Snow White shall die," cried she, "though it should cost me my own life." And then she went to a secret lonely chamber where no one was likely to come, and there she made a poisonous apple. It was beautiful to look upon, being white with red cheek, being white with red cheeks, so that no one should see it, must long for it, but whoever ate it, even a little bit of it, must die. When the apple was ready, she painted her face and clothed herself like a peasant woman, and went across the 7 mountains to where the 7 dwarfs lived. When she knocked at the door, Snow White put in her head out of the window and said, "I dare not let anybody in. The 7 dwarfs told me not to." "All right," answered the woman. "I can easily get rid of my apples elsewhere." There, I will give you one. No, answered Snow White, I dare not take anything. Are you afraid of poison? Said the woman. Look here, I will cut the apple in two pieces. You shall have the red side, I will have the white one. For the apple was so cunningly made that all the poison was in the rosy half of it. Snow White longed for the beautiful apple, but as she saw the peasant woman eating a piece of it, she could no longer refrain. Stretched out a hand and took the poisoned half, but no sooner had she taken a morsel of it into her mouth, she fell to the earth as dead, and the queen, casting on her a terrible glance, laughed aloud and cried, as white as snow, as red as blood, as black as ebony. This time the dwarves will not be able to bring you to life again. And when she went home and asked the looking glass against the wall, who was the fairest of all? Last it answered, you are the fairest now of all. Then her envious heart had peace, as much as an envious heart can have. The dwarfs, when they came home in the evening, found Snow White lying on the ground, and there came no breath out of her mouth, and she was dead. They lifted her up, sought if anything poisonous was to be found, cut her lace, combed her hair, washed her with water and wine. But all was of no avail. The poor child was dead and remained dead. Then they laid her on a bier, and sat all 7 of them around it, and wept and lamented 3 whole days. And then they would have buried her, but she looked still as if she were living, with her beautiful blooming cheeks. So they said, we cannot hide her away in the black ground, and they made a coffin of clear glass, so as to be looked into from all sides. And they laid her, and wrote in golden letters upon it her name, and that she was the king's daughter. Then they set the coffin out upon the mountain, and one of them always remained by to watch. And the birds came too, and mourned for Snow White, first an owl, then a raven, then lastly a dove. Now for a long while Snow White lay in the coffin, and never changed, but looked as if she were asleep. For she was still as white as snow, as red as blood, and her hair was as black as ebony. It happened, however, that one day a king's son rode through the wood, and up to the dwarf's house, which was near it. Gee, someone's honking for some reason. Why are you honking? I'm trying to read. Can't you see I'm reading? No, I'm just kidding. Happened, however, that one day a king's son rode through the wood and up to the dwarf's house, which was near it. He saw on the mountain the coffin and the beautiful Snow White within it, and he read what was written in the golden letters upon it. Then he said to the dwarfs, let me have the coffin. I will give you whatever you like to ask for it. But the dwarfs told him they cannot part with it for all the gold in the world. But he said, I beseech you, give it to me, for I cannot live without looking upon Snow White. If you consent, I will bring you to great honor, and care for you as if you were my brethren. When he spoke, the good little dwarfs had pity upon him, and gave him the coffin, and the king's son called all his servants and bid them carry it away on their shoulders. Now it happened that as they were going along, they stumbled. Now happened as they were going along, they stumbled over a bush, and with shaking the bit of poisoned apple flew out of her mouth. It was not long before she opened her eyes, threw up the cover of the coffin, sat up alive and well. Oh dear, where am I? Cried she. Excuse me, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Hold on. The king's son answered, full of joy, you are near me, and relating all that had happened. He said, I would rather have you than anything in the world. Come with me to my father's castle, and you shall be my bride. And Snow White was kind and went with him, and their wedding was held with pomp and great splendor. But Snow White's wicked stepmother was also bidden to the feast. And when she had dressed herself in beautiful clothes, she went to her looking-glass, and said, Looking-glass upon the wall, who is the fairest of us all? The looking-glass answered, O queen, although you are of beauty rare, the young bride is 1,000 times more fair. Then she railed and cursed and was beside herself with disappointment and anger. First, she thought she would not go to the wedding, but then she felt she would have no peace until she went and saw the bride. When she saw her, for Snow White, and could not stir, and when she saw her, for she knew her for Snow White, and she could not stir from the place for anger and terror, for they had red-hot iron shoes, in which she had to dance in until she fell down dead. end. That is the end of Snow White. Let me see. Jeez, man. Can we just acknowledge that basically the prince, he didn't even know she was alive. Like he was just like, yeah, I'll buy the dead body. Can't I love she looks so beautiful as a dead body. You know, I can't wait to see her. Caleb Lynch, her name was Jester Skin Color. Yep. The witch offered her an apple. That's pretty nice to me, says Candy. It was poison though. Her father is her father, the king, is not fit to rule a kingdom if he doesn't notice his daughter just vanished or his wife eats hearts of people. Pretty much, Caleb. Ignorance is bliss. Well, Caleb, you said there's no way a kingdom back then would be ruled by women. Even women back then were like, yeah, men are better. Well, that isn't necessarily true. There were many kingdoms that were actually ruled by women back then. Hello, skeleton hybrid. She is Jesus, death, and resurrection. She gonna die. Don't open the door. What kind of killers? Like, what are you afraid of this knife I'm holding? Yep. Yep, the prank is yep, the prince was a necro. He's like, oh my god, that dead body is so beautiful. I must have it to be mine. And then he literally bought it off gold. You know, they say the dwarfs and all their kindly heart, but like what were they supposed to do? Were the dwarves supposed to say no to like a prince? Like they can't say no to a prince. They're just dwarves. Uh, I just gotta drink the. Sorry, drinking some water. I was a bit apart. Let me see. I'm just sending out the live stream link again. I'm sorry, a bit quiet, but sorry them being quiet. I'm just sending out the live stream. So is there any questions you guys have for me as like I don't know, a little bit of a Q&A? Be pretty cool. Caleb, don't Caleb, don't say stuff like that. That's very rude. Angelina, I am 15. That's how old I am. Yeah. What do I like to eat 11:14 a.m.? Well, I think ramen noodles or peanut butter and jelly. That would be pretty good, I think. Caleb, you're right. You shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And Skeleton Dog, I'm sorry that one of your friends almost got hurt by a pickaxe. That's kind of sucks. I'm very sorry. Very sorry about that. I hope it's okay. many people we got watching this stream right now? 7 viewers. Oh my gosh, that's. I think I've never had 7 viewers watching. Oh, hello, Mom. Yes, I do eat tubs of peanut butter. I do eat tubs of peanut butter. I do. Let me see. What do we have here? Thank you so much, Coffee Life. That's all right, so let me see. Oops. So next story I read is probably not going to be in a British accent just because it kind of takes a little bit out of me at times. So what other stories we have here? Any other, you guys got any requests? Yeah, Coffee, I know it's you. That's why I said thank you. I'm reading your username, so if anybody comes back here and rewatches the stream, they know who's talking. Oh yeah, I know, because I was do an original story. Okay. Annabelle Lee. What stories do I have here? The story of Annabelle Lee. I actually don't know the story. Yeah, I'm 15. Let me see writing. All right, let's begin this. So this is an original story. You guys want to hear an original story I wrote? You guys want to hear an original story I wrote? All right. I guess I'll start. This is one of my lesser known poems that I wrote. Well, it's not a poem, it's more prose, but it's kind of like it's the length of a poem. It's called Bang. All right, here it is. It's kind of short. It's black. It's metal. It's pointed at your face. The hammer cocks back. You won't feel a thing. They say your life flashes before your eyes before you die, but for some reason that's not happening. You're paralyzed with fear. What do? Do you run? Maybe you want to die. Who cares about you anyway? But maybe you care about someone. People care about you. Doesn't matter. Do you believe in the afterlife? Maybe you should say a prayer just in case. Oh no, the man's pulling the trigger. Why is everything so slow? Maybe if you pray to the Lord, he can save you. You want to see your loved ones again, but there's no time to pray. Your time's up. Hope you've been a good person. Bang! That's kind of short, but that's it. Buy a skeleton hybrid, and yeah, I am 6 feet tall, so yeah, and Candy, no, it's not the one with Ben, sorry, but actually, in case you're wondering, I am planning on narrating The Echoes of a Tortured Mind, but I want to do it when it's finished. I'm probably going to make it into like a little series. Victoria Angeline, you are 5'4". So tiny. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I mean, that's pretty average height for females these days, according to Google, I think. How many people are watching now? Eight people are watching. Jesus, I've never had that many people. read the story of Tarboy. I don't think I know that story. Let me look it up. I actually don't think I can read that one just because of copyright issues. I want to try to keep this stream up, so I don't want to read any stories that'll have me take the stream down. Let me see some poetry. Let me see this. Let me see this. I have some original stories saved, but it kind of stinks. Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast. Let me see. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, here's kind of a short story that I wrote a little bit ago that never really got turned into a video simply because it's too short. Would you guys like to hear this one? All right, here it is. Let me get ready. I bolted the front and back door, pushing chairs in front of them, shotgun at the ready, my heart thumping. It would be coming soon, that thing. I nailed boards over the windows. I double-checked my gun, my hands trembling as I did so. I slapped myself. Get it together. Sorry. I slapped myself. Get it together. This is what kills people. Whatever's out there, you can handle it, I spoke, reassuring myself. I heard it out there. I gulped. I heard it, scratching at the boards, sniffing, smelling, seeking. My heart felt like it would burst from my chest. I tried to control my breathing. I raised my gun. My vision went fuzzy from the adrenaline rush. I breathed in and blinked. I can do this. I can do this. Leave me alone. Go away, I thought. And with that, nothing. Absolutely no sound at all. I lowered my gun and let out some air. I was safe. My eyes widened. I looked up. Whatever it was on my roof. I gasped then as I remembered. I never thought about the chimney. No, actually, I haven't posted this one on Quotif. Maybe I should. That's it. I've been streaming for 30 minutes. The whole time has seemed to fly. It seems like I just started streaming 10 minutes ago. Let me see, I should read one more story, but what is there to read? I know some stories that Skeleton Dog Hybrid. No, I actually have not got fan art. So no, I haven't got. I did get a fan letter once, but it was about my stories. That was cool though. But no, I've never gotten fan art before. Let me see. Angelina, they're not being mean. Caleb, What's your bedtime? Let me see this. He's not being mean. Don't worry. Let me see this. Should I wish? Yeah, but let me see. What else should I? Anybody else got any stories that they want me to recommend? I mean, anybody got any stories that they want me to read? Just say it in the chat, and I'll read it. So, and I'm probably let me see. I'm probably gonna aim. I'm probably gonna end this stream at like 10:30. So that's gonna be 25 minutes. Hello, April Jones. Your bedtime is the skeleton hybrid. There is no origin story for Sleeping Beauty. And 6 a.m. That's interesting. That's an interesting bedtime. Well, I got 229 subscribers now. Thanks, everybody who just subscribed to me. Second, that origin of Sleeping Beauty, make one up. But I do have some made up right now, but I can't just like write it right here. I mean, base it off an anime. You know what? I have an idea. All right, I'm gonna pull it up. Let me just pull this up. Wait. So what can we? Okay. Okay, Victoria Angelina, you have a question. I am ready to answer it. Was that a sound of a penny or nickel? You are very perceptive. That was the sound of a nickel. And yes, I am using Hangouts. I think like 90% of people these days when they're live streaming use Hangouts. Unless they're doing a video game live stream, then it's different. And I said I am using Hangouts. Actually, I should just find an original story. I have original stories of mine that are buried under all of these making fan art for me. Oh, it's so nice. No, I actually have so many stories that I have written that I have not made into things that I should probably revisit. All right, so this was a all right, so this is a little creepypasta thing, not creepypasta, kind of like it's. So this is a little short story that I wrote a while ago. It actually got adapted and made into another video, but let me do it now. All right, so, but I'm just gonna read. This is the original. This is an original thing that I wrote. And this. All right, ready? Here it is. Let's begin. Why am I delaying? Why, hello there, boys and girls, sirs and madams, ladies and gentlemen. Do you ever wish you had a servant, someone to help you with all your endeavors? Or maybe something simple, get you a glass of water perhaps? Do you wish for a servant of the supernatural persuasion? Well then, let me teach you how to get one. Let me teach you how to summon an angel. Aha, yes, an angel of your own, whom you can control and ask to do whatever you ask. Are you ready? Now, this ritual is very, very simple. First, grab an item, any item that is yours. It must have been bought by you or have been a gift. Now, got one? Perfect. Now, get a bird feather, any feather, doesn't matter. Next, a maple leaf. Got everything? All right, good. Now, draw a circle. The circle can be anywhere you wish, just as long as it's on the ground. Next, place a maple leaf. Sorry, messed up. Next, place the maple leaf and the feather in the circle. However, keep the item that is yours in your pocket. Understand? Aha, now, let us move forward with this. Place your hand inside the circle. Next, no words, simply will. Close your eyes and will your angel to come forth. Do you feel it? The energy crackling around you? Congratulations, you just summoned... Oh, wait. Question, what hand did you put in the circle? I hope it wasn't your right hand, because if it was, well, oh dear. You just summoned a demon. That's the end of that story. Skeleton dog hybrid, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's you can draw it however you want. It's your art. It was my right hand, oh Lordy Jesus, this can't. Oh dear. Oh dear, that oof. I am sorry. Oh, all right. So here's this. All right. Okay. So this is actually the first narration that I posted on YouTube, and I'm actually planning on re-narrating it. But I guess this is basically me narrating it without music. This is one of the first stories I wrote for YouTube, so I'm just excited to see how it holds up. Tell me if it's good or not. I don't know. All right, here it is. Ready? All right. I lay awake trying to drift. It was already 12, and I just couldn't seem to get to sleep. My parents had dropped me off at my aunt and uncle's house for a 3-day vacation. I could tell it was more so for them than it was for me. I sighed, turning on my side. I just needed to sleep. Then I heard it. I sat up. There it was again. I looked around my room. It was coming from my window. I slowly sat up in bed. The tapping got faster and louder. I got up from the bed and the tapping stopped. I slowly took steps towards the window. The outside was caked with ice, forming from a new winter's frost. I could barely see past it. And at that moment, I remembered my aunt and uncle's only real rule of the house. Don't unlatch the window. The tapping started again, starting slow, and then getting faster and faster. My heart beat faster and faster. Soon the very panes of glass began to shake. I was stunned. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. And then it all stopped. And then words started to appear on the glass, looking as if someone was writing on the glass with their fingers. When it was done, there were only 2 words. Open window. I stuck my hand out to touch the words, smudging them, and that's when I realized something. I smudged the words. Whatever had written the words wasn't on the outside, it was on the inside. That's it. You have duck feathers in your room? May I ask why? It's like, why? Why would you do that? Why would you? Just kidding. Unlatch the window. Leave. Just kidding. Maybe they should leave. I'm only going to enter houses through windows now. It sounds like a very interesting way to enter a house. My dog killed the duck. Well, that kind of stinks. Actually, sorry to hear that. Oh, sorry. I guess I'm not talking, which is bad. But why, hello there. Uh, I'm live streaming. This is Sparta. Yep, it's Sparta. This is a live stream where I read stories. Jeff. All right, so this is a poem that I wrote a long time ago, and I guess we can. I guess I'll read it now. Thank you, Hybrid. You're pretty cool too. All right, here it is. Onwards, heathen, into the night. Onwards, heathen, out of sight. Onwards, heathen, the pitter patter of your skin. No, this I'll reread it. Sorry. Onwards, heathen, into the night. Onwards, heathen, out of sight. Onwards, heathen, the pitter patter of your sin won't hold you tight. Um, I was. All right, so I'm probably going to end this live stream. Well, actually, hold on. Let me. Hmm. Yeah. So I think I'm actually going to end this live stream now. It was awesome live streaming. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Victoria, Angelina. Thank you, Candies. Thank you, Cecilia. Coffee. Thank you all for showing up. It has been awesome talking to you guys. It was an awesome narrating. Oh, yeah, I gotta go. I'm sorry. Stay awesome, dudes. All right. Let me end the stream. Bye bye.